This is October the 29th, and we have 2 more days to go. And guess what? This is the second time that I've had to film this. My filming program crapped out on me. So, take number 2. I'm going to start all over again. I wanted to say, if you have not visited Crystal of Bag of Days 500,000 subscriber giveaway video, what are you waiting for? Somebody has to win that. Doesn't matter if it's you or somebody else, but somebody has to win that. So enter into it. Crystal has worked really hard to get where she is today. So I think we should all be celebrating Crystal's 500,000 subscriber, whether she has a giveaway or not. But holy cats, guys. It's 200 skeins of yarn, and I think she said 200 patterns. Maybe it's more than that. But all of her patterns that she has written digital patterns for, you can choose to win that as well. And like I said, 500,000 subscribers is a great milestone to reach, and I am so glad. I have been following her from day one. So it's been a thrill to see her channel grow, and to see her grow, and to I want to say become more joyous as a person. That's amazing to see. October the 31st is around the corner. For those of you who practice different religion, I want to wish you a happy Samhain. It is the time when the veil is the thinnest between two worlds, and it's a great time to do divination for those that do it. So may your divination be very positive and a good one for you, if you choose to do that. My family, I have long done, and it is just that we got one of those little Halloween trees, I think from maybe Michael's or something, with the bendable leaves. We got that years ago, and I had made little, I want to say picture ornaments, to where I could put pictures of my loved ones that have passed on that I choose to remember. And that's what we do for October. So, and a lot of people say, Jane, that's kind of a pagan practice. You're not really a pagan. I don't know. My mother followed a lot of pagan things. May have been something that's kind of ingrown in me. I don't worry about it, because we're all God's creatures, and regardless of what you are, faith is faith, you know. This is just something I choose to do to remember those that have passed on in my life that I care about, because I know this time of year is a time to celebrate loved ones, ancestors that have passed away. Now, I got a lot of that because living in New Mexico, there's a big celebration around November the 1st, 2nd, Los Dios de Muertos, which is Day of the Dead, and it is the day to just honor those that have passed on. And for Hispanics, many of them, they will take a trip to the graveyard where their loved ones have passed. They bring dishes of all kinds, and they have festive picnic at the graveside. Not all do that. Many just do it at home with a small altar, preparing their loved ones' favorite foods, and just enjoying each other's company as family. Those are great traditions, regardless of, what you want to call them, pagan or whatever. Then this morning, I'm going to move on now. This morning I was watching Ella, No Catchy Names 93 episode, and she had mentioned that she's making a tree skirt again, but she couldn't find the originator of the pattern, and it kind of reminded me of something that I'd wanted to talk about in the past. I know many of us will print out free patterns or copy and paste them to one of our Word documents, page documents, whatever, and then print them out. I always try to make sure I get the title of what the person has called that pattern, as well as the URL where that pattern came from. So if I, choose to show you that item, I can also give you the link or what it was or the name of it, so maybe perhaps you can find that. She said she couldn't find it. She thinks she got it off of Ravelry. This may have been a designer who, like I, walked away from Ravelry. So it's important to get that information. I try to make sure even the patterns that I downloaded from Ravelry years ago, that I made sure I knew where that person's website was, so that if I ever had any questions or whatever, I would be able to find that person to ask. Because there's many times I will print out a pattern and then I don't do it for a year or so. So that's just one of those things that you may want to think about. Hold on there. Okay, sorry about that. Had a little bit of a coughing fit. Well, I finally got caught up on the Unraveled Mittens Stash Busting Cow. This is block number 20. It is the mitered square. I'm not pleased with this because this one is humongous and I followed the pattern, so I haven't decided whether I'm going to rip that one out or what. This is block 20, and block 20 was the linen stitch. I think we've done this one before. Didn't we do linen stitch before? Maybe we didn't. Maybe it was something else I did linen stitch and I'm thinking that it was this. I'm all caught up and I think tomorrow is the day for another one to show up. That's okay. Stuff happens. I went back to look at the video that I had filmed, and I need to refilm a section of the hat. It's no big deal. Happens. It kind of didn't show what I wanted to. I didn't have my hands in the correct position. And for those of you who've never filmed tutorials, they can be challenging at times because you think your hands are in the shot and they're nowhere near it. So, yeah, I'm going to refilm that. That's it for today's podcast as far as crochet goes. And now we're going to move on to some fun stuff. What in tarnation? The first one I'm going to start with is a story from one of our local historians. And I think I've told you about Lou Bernard in the past. He works at the library. He used to work at the Historical Society. But they're snooty hoity-toities, and they did not care for some of the things that he talked about. He's involved with the paranormal group in our area, and they didn't like that aspect. They also didn't like, and I'll be honest, they didn't like the fact that he and his wife adopted a young black child, and so, they kicked him out of the Historical Society, which is their loss, because the man does wonderful work. Now, he goes around and he does lectures. He tells ghost stories. Every year they have a ghost story walk along that you can walk and go up to the cemeteries and hear some of the ghost stories. He takes you around town. It's a walking tour. and they tell you some of the ghost stories around and some of the houses that are haunted. And so it's a very interesting tour if you can manage the walk. He is someone who lives by his word. He is a avid believer in protecting the earth as much as possible. And one of the ways he does that is his wife works. She needs the vehicle. They chose not to buy another car, so he rides his bicycle everywhere. So if he is doing a speech somewhere or talking somewhere, he wants to make sure that it is close enough that he can ride his bicycle, and he can be seen riding his bicycle all over. He also does the tours at the Piper Museum. So he has his hands in a lot of stuff. He's a busy fella, and I really enjoy Lou Bernard. He has some great stories to tell. He's a great storyteller, and I wish he would do a YouTube channel, to be honest. It'd be fantastic. This story is The Ghost of Bitumen. It's not surprising that Bitumen may be haunted. After all, it is actually a ghost town. Bitumen is up in Noyes Township. It's a bit north of Route 120 and west of Westport near Cook's Run. When coal was discovered up there in the 1860s, it was mined for almost 20 years before they seriously made an industry out of it. About 1880, the coal companies began to mine more extensively, and immigrants from Sweden and Slovakia were hired. Obviously, they needed a place to live, so the company built a town and named it Bitumen. This was the type of coal that they were mining, in case you didn't study geology. And that is the name of the coal, bitumen coal. In 1889, company houses were built, plus schools, churches, and a union hall. The whole operation was owned by the Kettle Creek Coal and Mining Company, which, speaking paranormally, is a red flag right there. Kettle Creek is loaded with old legends about ghosts and monsters. There are any number of reasons Bitumen might have a few ghosts floating around. Mining is dangerous. Clearly, it is dangerous. On August the 26th, 1930, a miner was killed when he fell between shipping cars inside the mine. An undertaker named Waters was sent into the mines to retrieve the body. This incident was the only fatality I could find in reference in the newspapers, though I'm sure he wasn't the only fatality in the place's whole history. Mining is not exactly quilting. There's a lot of risk involved. Lou, there's a lot of risk involved in quilting. You could lose a toe. And even aside from the mining, things could get deadly. In 1980, during the Spanish flu epidemic, Bitumen had over 606 people, no nurses, and one doctor who ran himself to exhaustion. Local writer Leonard Perucha had a column for the Express some years ago where he wrote about a haunted house in Bitumen. Two teenage girls named Susie and Mary, and those are in quotes. Perucha put quotes around their names to protect their identities. They decided to explore a haunted house once owned by one of the mine foremen, a man named Miller. The house certainly looked haunted. Rotted porch, hanging shutters, broken windows, and filled with cobwebs. Perucha describes it as having an eerie look and notes that Miller's ghost had been observed sitting on the porch repeatedly. These details would put the incident sometime in the late 1920s or early 1930s. Bitumen closed its operations in 1922 and evicted the employees. This caused considerable controversy, and the men hired to evict the citizens of Bitumen wound up also to serve as guards, making sure people didn't try to return to their homes in the dead of night. 88 families were evicted. In 1930, the company began demolishing the houses, though some remained standing. An article from 1931 declares that Bitumen had already begun to look abandoned, nature beginning to reclaim the site. Susie and Mary snuck into the old house in search of magazines, which were evidently prized in the area back then. According to the article, they crawled in through a window, unable to open the warped doors. Almost instantly, they walked face first into a spider web, which basically set the mood for the rest of the adventure. Further in, the girls heard noises inside the house, and their nerve broke. Mary, evidently the more agile of the two, turned and dived out the window, without touching the sill. Susie screamed, fell, got up, and ran, apparently acting as comic relief. Both of them ran from the house in terror. Later, at a safe distance, they laughed about it, but they never walked on that side of the street again. Today, Bitumen is mostly a ghost town. 7 of the workers' houses remain, sitting in the remote woods. Oh, and one more thing about the history. In 1938, the company sealed the mines. They covered up the entrances so nobody could get in or out. And given the risk of death to miners, it's very possible that they sealed some bodies inside as well. If there are ghosts in Bitumen today, it may be because their bodies remain sealed forever in the Noise Township ground. Just thought that was interesting. A couple of weeks ago, well, quite a few weeks ago, in one of the What in Tarnation stories, I had told you about that there was a sushi thief. Those thieves have been absconded. Brian and Karen of Fiber Hearts Crochet, they sent me the link to the follow-up story. Now, I had it printed out, set aside, and forgot to do it. So I'm doing it now. Police apprehended penguins who kept sneaking into sushi restaurant. Brilliant, brilliant penguins. Sushi lovers know that cravings for the fishy dish are nearly impossible to beat, making it all the more understandable that a pair of penguins in New Zealand have been officially apprehended by authorities for repeatedly sneaking around the grounds of a sushi truck. On Monday evening, Wellington District Police announced the 2 waddling vagrants were temporarily detained after making themselves home beneath a local sushi truck. Their second act of trespassing on the premises that day, the Guardian reports. A pair of vagrant blue penguins have been forcibly removed after waddling into a New Zealand sushi shop and refusing to leave. Why would they? Sushi! A staffer first noticed something was amiss after hearing a cooing, humming sound coming from near the warm grills beneath the mobile food truck. I'm going to show you that picture. There's the 2 penguins in the food truck. I'm sure they had just finished swallowing every bit of fish they could get. The waddling vagrants were removed from their sushi stand, refuge earlier today by Constable John Zhu. Unsurprisingly, this was not the first report police had received about the fishy birds. We received a call about 8:40 p.m. on Saturday night of a penguin on the road in Featherston Street. Representatives for the Wellington Police Department wrote online that Constable John Zhu quickly responded to the scene after sensing something fishy. The wanderers were soon identified as little blue penguins as per Huffington Post and released back into the wild of Wellington Harbor. Police worked with the Department of Conservation and the Wellington Zoo to send the adventurous birds back to sea. It's pretty insane, the idea that some penguins are camping out under your shop, sushi shop worker Winnie Morris told Radio New Zealand of the wild tale. But it's adorable, I think. They're probably terrified, but it's adorable. Little blue penguins typically start looking for nesting spots in July and start laying eggs in August. But there they are with the police. That was a cute story. Now, I went to the casino. I didn't have a big winning streak. I didn't get evicted. I don't know that if I got thrown out of the casino, if I would do what this woman did. But apparently, her anger got the best of her. Woman drives motorhome into Las Vegas area casino after she was kicked out. A woman drives her Winnebago motorhome into casino. A 50-year-old woman upset about getting kicked out of the Little Cannery casino drove her Winnebago motorhome through the front doors and ran over an elderly custodian. According to the authorities, Jennifer Stitt had been ejected from the North Las Vegas casino early Friday morning. Disorderly conduct, said the North Las Vegas police spokesman Eric Levitt. They asked her to leave, but she didn't want to leave. Casino staff informed Stitt that her refusal to leave constituted trespassing, which if you have been asked to leave 3 times and you refuse, you are trespassing. That's law just about everywhere. She didn't agree with the trespassing, Levitt said. That's when Stitt left the building, got behind the wheel of her RV, and plowed it through the glass front doors of the casino, police said. Outside, a 66-year-old custodian stood in the path of the incoming Winnebago. He looked up and said, "You're hitting me!" And she continued to accelerate at him, actually running him over. She knew fully well what she was doing. Casino security surrounded the Winnebago and pulled the angry woman out. The custodian suffered critical injuries, Levitt said, but he is expected to survive. Police took Stitt into custody. She is likely to face an attempted murder charge, police said. If you get thrown out of the casino, that is not the proper way to behave. You will get banned for life. And you know what? She deserves everything that's coming her way. And I am probably pretty sure that she has an addiction to gambling, which caused a lot of her craziness. Or maybe alcohol was involved. If you get to a certain level in casinos, you do get free alcohol drinks. It's probably not a good idea. Don't we all wish we had found a long-lost painting in our kitchen that would bring us $26.8 million? I do. I look at all my paintings, hoping that someday they'll be worth millions. A long-lost 13th century painting discovered hanging in a French senior citizen's kitchen fetched $26.8 million at an auction. 10 by 8 inch. 10 inch by 8 inch. Little. It was a painting, Christ Mocked by Florentine painter Cimabue, aka Cine de Pepo, was authenticated by experts after the woman who had displayed it in her kitchen decided to have it appraised earlier this year. Didn't take long for us to see that it was an artwork by Italian painter Cimabue. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Jerome Montecualquil, of art specialist Cabinet Turquin, told CNN. He's a father of painting, so we know his work very well. I never heard of him. Doesn't mean he's not a father of painting. I don't follow painting well. It's not my thing. The painting went to auction Sunday in Senlis, north of Paris, and sold for $26.8 million, more than 4 times the pre-sale estimate. There are only 11 of his paintings in the world. They are rare. No kidding. This next story, if you have puppies and you smoke, should be a word of warning. I didn't know this could happen. I could see how it could possibly happen. Puppy chewing on lighter sets couch on fire. An Australian woman's home security camera captured the moment her 10-month-old puppy decided to use a lighter as a chew toy and ended up starting a fire. Dee Borkowski shared security camera footage from her Melbourne home showing Archie, a French Bulldog Boston Terrier mix, chewing on a lighter on her living room couch. After a few moments, the lighter ignites and the couch bursts into flames. And they go up fast, people. Borkowski said she saw the flames on CCTV when she checked on Archie and alerted the fire department to extinguish the blaze. She said the fire didn't spread to any other apartments, but her unit sustained thousands of dollars worth of damage. Borkowski said Archie was not harmed by the fire. She changed the title of his Instagram page to Archie the Arsonist in honor of the mischievous canine's rough week. Now, this next story, I'm just going to read it. Researchers teach rats to drive, find out it reduces stress. Researchers in Virginia said they trained rats to drive tiny cars and then learned the activity was a means of stress relief for the rodents. The scientists at the University of Richmond's Lambert Behavioral Neuroscience Laboratory said they trained 2 groups of rats to operate the Rat-Operated Vehicle, ROV, ROV, which works by having the rats push down on a copper bar that propels the tiny car forward. The rats were rewarded with Fruit Loops cereal when they drove to the end of the enclosure. Kelly Lambert, head of the laboratory and lead author of the story, said the group of rats are raised in an enriched environment with toys and ladders were better able to drive than the group of rats raised in a plain lab cage. She said the rats with more activities had greater neuroplasticity, the ability of their brains to grow and change over time due to having more stimulation. Lambert said research analyzed the rats' droppings and found both groups of rodents had an increase in hormones that control stress responses. She said the task apparently increased the emotional resilience of the animals and could have implications for humans. It is likely that driving gives the rats a sense of control over their environment, she said. In humans, we would say that it enhances a sense of agency or self-efficacy. Lambert said the study could have implications for how researchers approach depression and other mental illnesses in humans. Anything that reduces stress can build resilience against the onset of mental illness, she said. Is it the driving or the Fruit Loops? Were the other rats rewarded with Fruit Loops? Those are my questions. I wouldn't want to be the one that has to look through those droppings. Okay, that's it. I'm going to have to choose kindness because that story got me. Everybody have a great week, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.